This is Debbie from Maui Spa. I am the spa director, and we are going to be providing you with lots of helpful information. We're trying to get this on all of our platforms, so if you have any questions or you can't find that common answer out there, we're going to be providing with all different kinds of people. Today we feature Paige. Paige is our financial advisor, and she works with us at the spa. She'll be able to answer all of your questions. You can ask the questions below. She will provide you with all the information she has. Good luck, Paige. Thank you for doing this for Maui Spa.
Thank you, Debbie. Yes, as Debbie mentioned, my name is Paige Papiano. I handle bookkeeping and accounting for the spa. I own a firm called Books by Paige LLC, so we handle bookkeeping, tax, and payroll services for small businesses. I just want to also mention that nothing in this conversation is meant to be of legal advice. So if you do have questions for an attorney, please do seek counsel. I hope that, most of this presentation will answer the common questions that you have and give you general information on all the options out there. But if you do have additional questions, which I'm sure you may, please just use the comment, write a comment below and we'll get back to you on your specific question. And so let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to go over is the fact that the government is issuing the stimulus checks, which I'm sure you all have heard about and are eager to receive. I don't know how fast this is going to be. The IRS is a bit backed up at the moment, but they're trying to start cutting checks in about 3 weeks. If you have submitted a 2018 or a 2019 tax return, you're automatically eligible. So you don't actually have to sign up for this. It's something that they'll have your information on file and they'll be able to either issue you a direct deposit payment or a check. The requirements are that if you are single, that file, in single status, and you are making $75,000 or under as your adjusted gross income in your tax return, your payment will be $1,200. And an additional $500 for each dependent child you have under the age of 17, so 16 and under. Some of you may be students and wondering if you are claimed by your parents as a dependent, what happens? In this case, you're likely not going to receive a stimulus check unless you can now file for 2019 where you're not a dependent and you're on your own. So your parents wouldn't get the benefit of you being a dependent to them, but you would now get the $1,200 stimulus payment. And if you're a dependent in their return, but you are over the age of 16, so you're 17 or above, then they wouldn't get the extra $500 of a stimulus payment for you anyway. Debbie, do you have any questions in regards to the stimulus payment?
I just had a question for you about that because I thought it was up to $100,000. Just
$5,000 or under will receive $1,200. It'll be incrementally less when you go towards $99,000. Anything above that, you get nothing.
What about the 75 to 90 or 75 to 95?
So I don't know the exact amount you will get, but they're basically doing it as a proportion. So if you make up to $99,000, you'll receive something, but it won't be the full $1,200.
Interesting. Okay, that hasn't been clarified out there. Good point.
Yeah, and they haven't released like an actual dollar amount that they're deducting, per $1,000 you make or anything like that, but I'm sure that's coming within the next few weeks. I don't think the IRS has it figured out on their side yet since they're going through all of the other loans and stuff, figuring out the processes for those right now, and they're kind of understaffed as it is. So they've got their work cut out for them. Second thing I want to touch up on is unemployment, which actually is a great option right now. I never thought I'd be saying that because in Florida, it's usually so low. The max is $275 a week normally, but during this coronavirus, for the response of the coronavirus, the federal government is actually supplementing whatever the state is giving you and adding an extra $600 per week for the next 13 weeks if you are approved. This is open to both employees and self-employed people, which it is usually not when we don't have this circumstance. It amounts to about $3,500 a month for the next 3 to 4 months. So for some people, that might be even more than you're making if you're just, part-time right now. So I think that's a great option. what they do is you have to fill out an application. The site has been crashing a lot because everybody is trying to submit at the same time. But actually in the past 3-4 days, they've been trying to resolve the issue. They got 72 more physical servers, so they're able to handle more applications. They hired hundreds of new staff members so that they can actually process the applications. So things should hopefully go a lot smoother now. And they also opened it up to receiving paper mailed applications, which they did not have before. We'll get into, the other options as far as paychecks in a little bit, and, when unemployment should be the option versus getting a paycheck. But I would at least start with applying, because even if you won't be eligible later, they'll at least have your information on file to where it will be easier to get activated later.
Well, I kind of just wanted to address something so everybody's aware of this. I've had a lot of questions. Massage therapists, bartenders, anybody who's a 1099, this includes you. Basically, all the people are asking, does that help me out? Because I'm self-employed, I work per service fees or tips or whatever it is. So this does include you,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Normally, no, unless there's, extra circumstances. But for now, with the virus, they're including everybody who is self-employed or works gigs and stuff like that, like Uber drivers and things like that will all qualify for unemployment. Also on the personal level, I want to go into, if you can't pay your bills right now, because it is a scary time. Everybody's home, not working, and not really, receiving the money that you're used to, and most of us live paycheck by paycheck. There are a few options out there. There's a lot of student loan relief. The federal student loans are actually going to be temporarily suspended automatically until September 30th. So if you have like a direct deposit payment or something like that, you won't see it come out of your account until October. And this is, again, is just for federal loan payments. There's also going to be 0% interest on student loans, federal student loans, if you do choose to make a payment on your own. And that 0% interest will also be until September 30th. If you have private loans, you'll just need to go to your bank for answers, but a lot of the private banks who own student loans are doing something. Maybe they're not doing suspensions until October, but they're definitely trying to help and do something. Also, with rent, I'm sure everybody has heard by now that basically they're not allowed to evict you for 60 days, and they're about to approve it for 90 days. And there are ways where, you should, on a personal level, be able to speak with your landlord if you are renting and see if your landlord can possibly defer their mortgage so that, they're not pressuring you to collect rent money because they have to make their mortgage payment. And basically can build it into your rent once everything goes back to a little bit of normalcy. And if you have a mortgage, opposite is true for you, to where you should go to your lender for the mortgage and see if they have an option where you can defer your payments also. They'll typically add it to the back of your loan. So it's probably a great option for right now if you can't afford it, and then it won't affect your credit or anything else. And then utilities as well, you can probably do something with at this point. For those of you who have maybe a higher cable and internet package, can call their service provider and get that lowered. See if there are any additional discounts that you haven't taken advantage of that you can at this point. And if there are utilities that you just can't make the payments on right now, they are not going to shut off utilities for non-payment for another 60 days. So you have a little bit of wiggle room there. Of course, you don't want to get in over your head where you're deferring all these payments and that all comes due, come say July, where we're hopefully normal again. I want to also mention that the tax deadline is moved to July 15th, and that's just for this year, but it's not April 15th to file your 2019 tax return. It's going to be July 15th. But if you have not filed for 2018 or 19, remember that it's very important that you file 2019 as soon as possible so that you can get paid with the stimulus check. If they don't have anything on file, then you're going to either be delayed or have a tough time. The IRS is working on getting a portal set up for people who haven't filed because they don't have to. If you're below a certain income threshold, then you're not required to file a tax return. So maybe some of you haven't. And in that case, you'd be able to eventually go on this portal, fill out your basic information, and basically tell them where they could send the payment to, and you'll be in their system. And I guess they'll verify that on their end because, if somebody files a 1099 under your social security number or a W-2 under your social security number, the government has that, and they're going to expect you to file a tax return with that payment. If you only had $1,000 W-2, then they know that, okay, this is all that was filed under their social security number. I probably shouldn't expect to see a tax return because they're under the threshold for the amount of income. So if you made under $12,000, you probably did not have to file.
So if you have a dependent on your tax and she's 22, 23, 24, that's just going to be considered that bonus to the person who's filing the taxes. They cannot, because if they did make under $1,000, even if it's going towards the parent's taxes, they can't file for a stimulus check, correct?
If you have a dependent child who is 17 or older, they're not going to be included as a child stimulus check, that $500. If you have to kind of consult with your personal accountant or CPA in regards to this, because claiming a dependent gives you other tax benefits, which may outweigh the $500 that a dependent would receive.
Well, the question is, if they're a dependent,
yes,
and they're 24 or 25, then they cannot file for a stimulus check, even if they brought in and attributed to the taxes. Let's say they made $2,500.
No. If you filed your own tax return, but you're claimed as a dependent, no, you're not going to receive anything, and your parents are also not going to receive anything. They'll receive theirs as long as their income level is under the threshold. They'll receive their own stimulus check, your parents, but they will not receive any benefit of having you as a dependent child. So the last option that I want to speak to you guys about is this PPP loan, which is part of the CARES Act. And this is the main one that businesses are now applying for. Banks opened this on last Friday. It was kind of a mess because everybody was waiting at the gate and everybody was released at the same time. So they're having to clean up the process a little bit and making it a little tougher to apply. It opens up to self-employed people, which is, all of you who are offering services in the spa. That will be open. It should be open on this Friday, April 10th. They may push back the date because of, like I said, all the kinks that are still being worked out. But what they would do is take what your revenue is, multiply it out. So far, we're hearing 2.5 months, and that's how they'll come up with your maximum amount of loan you could possibly be approved for. So if you're making, $1,000 a month, to make this simple, 1,000 times 2.5, $2,500 would be the max loan that you could possibly receive. And again, you apply through your banks for this. If you're approved, 75% of this would have to go toward your normal pay, and the additional 25% of it could go toward the business, rent, utilities, or payroll. This will get a little tricky because many people who are self-employed don't have like a business bank account or business relationship, and you'll likely have to have some sort of business relationship to get even considered for the loan with the bank. But more information is going to be released later in the week. They just don't have too much out there for the self-employed yet. So if you want to, comment all your questions, I'll come back at a later time and try to have all the answers for you.
You're here to answer a lot of questions for a lot of people that don't work at the spa, that are following or have come to the spa. We're just doing this for everybody so you can get some information. And please put your comments down there. We'll be happy to come back, maybe do an open access where we're live and you can ask Paige the questions yourselves. And stay tuned. We have so many other speakers coming through. And if you'd like to volunteer and offer your services on anything that you feel confident that anybody would like to know that aren't giving the answers out there, just post your comments or send us a message. We'll be happy to send you the form, and feel free to come live with us at Maui Spa. Thank you, Paige. You've been awesome.
Thanks.